That's the question we're asking there. How do we take care of the elderly and by whom? And here are just some of the statistics. There is no universal standard on the particular age that qualifies one to be described as elderly. However, in many countries, the age of retirement and or eligibility to access pension, which is 60 years for many countries, is generally accepted as the entry into the elderly club. The number of the aged in the world has been on a rapid increase, largely due to increased lifespans from better health care. Worldwide, the proportion of the elderly is growing at a faster rate than the general population. In 2012, there were 810 million women and men aged over 60 and over worldwide. Now, this figure will reach 1 billion in less than 10 years and 1.375 billion by 2030, meaning that people aged 60 and above will constitute 16% of the global population. Now, today, more people are over the age of 60 than children under 5. By 2030, there will be more people aged 60 and over than children under 10 years. Now, in 2012, Kenya had a total of 1.8 million old people. That's 4.3% of the total population. And by 2050, there will be 8.4 million older people, or 8.7% of the total population. Now, older age is a time of making significant contributions to the society, the community and the family, but it can also be a time of increased physical and mental illness, poverty, social isolation, discrimination and human rights abuses. Now, some of the challenges faced by older people in Kenya include lack of data. Many population-based surveys focus on younger people, usually aged 15 to 49, leading to a lack of data on people aged 50 and over. Of course, this makes the group socially invisible, making it difficult to document and address entrenched patterns of discrimination. There's also the issue of older people and HIV and AIDS, which has placed a burden on older people as caretakers of orphans and people living with HIV/AIDS. Older people are also left out in most HIV and AIDS policies and programs, and yet they are at the risk of being infected. There's also the issue of older people and rights. Older people continue to experience violence, isolation and abuse and have limited access to legal protection. In some communities, older people are especially associated with witchcraft, with some killed over the allegations. This is the issue of older people and policy. Recently, the Kenyan government launched social support services for older people, but a more elaborate welfare policy and an adequate budget have not been addressed. Besides, older people are excluded from many planning and development issues. Then, older people and chronic poverty. The older people will make the majority of the 900 million people who will be in poverty in 2015. Most, of course, will pass this poverty to their children. Then finally, older people and health. Old age, of course, comes with special health needs, but few have access or can afford quality healthcare. And there's also the issue of emergencies, where older people face threats from conflicts and natural disasters, yet they are not seen as vulnerable. Janet, the question again, like you said, who should take care of the elderly, and are we doing it right?
And I really want to get into this discussion, but let me quickly reintroduce my panelists. Seated directly in front of me is Mwakio Riga. He's the Director of Social Development, Ministry of Labor, Social Security and Services. We have Margaret Githinji, who, even though she's a retired teacher, she's actually an activist for older persons. We'll talk about her organization a bit more. Then right next to me on my right is Erastus Minor, Country Program Manager, Help Age Kenya. So, Margaret Githinji, I've asked that I can call her Mrs. Githinji, I feel it's only respectful, is 80 years old, but she's aged very gracefully. And I'll just talk a little bit about her. She has a book here called It's Never Too Late, where she talks about encouraging older persons to embrace aging. She's the founder of the Diamond Aged People Association, an association that brings together people aged 60 and above to share experiences and support each other after retirement. Mrs. Githinji, it's interesting because we were talking earlier now saying I didn't think you were 80 years old. I don't know whether there's a certain way people who are 80 are supposed to look, but what do you attribute your aging gracefully to? Because you have aged gracefully, you still enjoy life, you're still very active, you say you exercise every day, you have a prayer team and an organization that supports older people. What do you attribute that to?
Well, Janet, thank you. Thank you, viewers. I don't know how to answer that question, because What I always start saying is that fear of God is the beginning of everything.
Okay.
And once you know that God is the one who takes care of you, you face many problems positively.
All right. So when you have that faith.
When you have that faith.
And we were talking earlier, and you
Yes.
said, I can share this. You've been a widow now for 35 years.
Yes.
That's correct?
Yes.
How have you managed to find that strength? I know you've talked about your faith, but beyond that, how have you managed to get into your sunset years as they're being described without falling into the cliche of people getting, you know, sickly and lonely and tiresome? How have you managed that? Do you have a good support network?
No. But before my husband died, I was a teacher, and I continued working until I retired in 1994. So working and bringing up the children, I think being busy. I've been busy throughout my life.
And you're still busy?
Well, I'm still active. I don't say I'm busy as I used to be, but I'm still active. I do whatever little I can do.
All right.
So that also contributes to my well-being.
Okay. I want to bring in the gentleman very shortly, but the question we're asking is whether older persons, and you've said the politically correct term, the three of you, is older persons, not senior citizens or elderly, older persons. Are older persons, who should be responsible for caring for older persons? Who do you think should be responsible?
I don't know who to figure point. Because to my view is that everybody is responsible for older people. The family, children, the government, everybody is responsible, because that older person now is old. He needs, he or she needs assistance from people, because now we are talking about the older person who cannot work and earn anything. So I think everybody's responsible.
All right, we'll come back and ask you a few more questions. Erastus Maina, your organization, Help Age, you really look at accessing rights for older persons in Kenya. In your view, is there a crisis in Kenya in terms of how we take care of older persons? We just saw the feature Evelyn Wambui ran, you know, neglect and abandonment. When you look at the general scenario in the country, is there a crisis with regards to how we're looking after older persons?
Janet, I would say we are not yet there, but as they say in Kiswahili, dalili ya mvua ni mawingu. The issue is that Kenya is also experiencing an aging population, and the fact that people are eating well now, our health systems are there, education is there, and for example, HIV is no longer a threat.
For older persons or just generally?
Generally.
Okay.
And so it means that people will live longer. And if they live long, I mean, it means that at one time we will have the real crisis. Developed countries in Europe started that way, but so they were not proactive until the problem they found themselves there.
But But we're getting there. Do you think we're getting to a point where we really have to now look at older persons critically in terms of looking after them? Otherwise, it will really turn into something that's uncontrollable.
Right now is an issue, because why the government is coming in with policies and also introducing a cash transfer for older people is because somebody out there is not doing their own responsibility.
Which is the child or the relatives?
The child, yeah, because you see, I like our constitution. Article 57 squarely puts the responsibility of caring for older people, number one, to the family, and number two, the state.
I see.
And the family, meaning that even the family is the larger society, the clan, the nuclear family, all these things.
All right.
And and also the constitution is very clear.
Before I get into policy, you're saying that it's true, the constitution categorically says family and state. Why do you think that isn't happening? Why do you think the families, from your own experience and just based on the research we've been doing, there seems to be a lot of abandonment. So from your own experience as an expert in this field, why is that happening? Why are families choosing not to look after older persons?
First and foremost is that the traditional structures are no longer holding together. The families are there, the families are intact, because I have a family, my family is intact. But the traditional support system that was there is no longer there. And one factor is because of the rural-urban migration, the issues of poverty that are there, let us say, the peer influence also from the West, and that people are becoming more and more isolated, very individualistic, so that nobody is even taking care of the next member
of the family. So people are getting too busy. Mr. Riga, I think I'll call you that. You insisted on Mwakio, but let's talk about the cash transfer program. You're looking at 2,000 shillings per month. Is that correct? Yes. Is that enough? Is that sufficient? What does someone do with 2,000 shillings?
Thank you, Janet. Let me start by saying that the 2,000 shillings that we are giving, we are only giving the 2,000 shillings to very poor, the poorest of the poor. It's not money being given to everybody. And for sure, the 2,000 shillings, according to you and me, it's money which we can just go for lunch and clear it there. But for somebody who is right in the rural area, experiencing that poverty, the 2,000 shillings, first, it can buy a gorogoro of unga, mahindi, some beans, and actually that person is able to put food on the table.
What about access to medical care, for example? What happens to older persons who are ailing? And you're talking about the poverty index. That's how you gauge who should be given the 2,000 shillings. Yes. But there's so many surrounding factors. Like we've seen, there's the older people in HIV/AIDS, older people in chronic poverty, older people and emergencies. So what kind of policies are in place to address those issues?
The policies that are in place, first of all, the people who are right now getting the 2,000 shillings, we are trying our best. The government is coming up with a program where they will be linked to the National Hospital Insurance Fund.
Okay, that hasn't happened yet. It's been put in place.
It is being put in place, and as the time goes on, we expect the universal coverage of that health insurance fund to cover almost everybody who is elderly beyond 60 years and above.
How soon do you think that will take effect?
It will take effect not very far from now, because already the trials are ongoing.
Okay.
We have had a lot of consultations with Ministry of Health. They are out there in the field right now trying to test some of those issues so that they can get up the backup data to see how much money they would spend.
Mrs. Githinji, you're listening to the two gentlemen talk about the state caring. Do you think the government has done enough to care for older persons in Kenya?
I must appreciate what the government is doing now, because coming up with this policy for older person, I think that is the first step, which should start there, implement it, because the policy takes all what older people needs, and is covering almost everything. What is to be done now is to implement it and put it in action.
What did you see as you were growing older? How did you see people take care of older persons? What did you observe as you continued to grow?
Janet, I must say, during my growing up, this issue of older person, it was not an issue, because older person were the family was responsible for the older people. Older people had their duty, because I remember I used to see we as young people being taken to an old person to be taken care of, our parents taking the children to the grandmothers, and the grandmothers felt, they are part of the family. So the issue of older people, it just started.
It was natural.
It was natural.
When you look at the scenario now, I know earlier you said you don't want to point fingers regarding who should look after older persons, but does it break your heart to look at your fellow older persons like on TV being abandoned and neglected? Is it something that you've observed even as you're working with your support group?
Well, there are so many challenges in older people. My experience now is the urban where I live, because there is one factor which nobody can, we address it, but we cannot solve it: the loneliness of the older person living alone.
Tell me a little bit about that.
The people, the older people who live in Nairobi, in towns alone, they are either the children has grown up, they have moved out, maybe left the parent. mostly likely the single parents who are either widowed or whatever. The children move out, move away from home. They go live far from the parent, and the parents is there staying alone in the house. That is by experience.
Okay. Janet, I wanted to add that just as Margaret is saying, the issue of isolation and older people staying alone actually it has more impact on male older people. So such that we say that according to the population projections, out of 100 older women, you only get 84 old men.
Wow. Because it takes a toll on them.
Women are tough.
Women are tough. Actually, I want to take some feedback on Twitter, but it's interesting you say that.
Yeah.
I have an article here, and it says, loneliness can be twice as deadly as obesity for older people. Now, this was based in the US, and it talks about the fact that some people go as far as dying of loneliness, which is something that you're alluding to.
Yes, yes.
And have you seen it before? Have you seen it in friends or people that you know?
Yes. Janet, may I say that before I started this group, what drove me to start this group is the death of my 3 age mates, friends who we retired together, the year 2003. They died one after the other in 1 year.
One after the other?
One year they died, 3 of them.
Wow.
And we had retired the same time. 2 of them were my best friend. They developed something which I watched them ail.
Okay, before we come to that, let me just take a few views on Twitter. I don't know whether my team has any to put on the screen or whether I should just take them from what I have. Let's see. Okay, let's take a look at what some people are saying on Twitter. At Youth on Crusade say the government should take care of older persons, otherwise they'll be left to suffer in a fast-running economy. Let's see if we have anything else. At Miss Yokan says the government has no option now that their families don't care, which is what we're talking about. At Sir_Rawling says the society has failed the old. The government must now take responsibility and set up homes for the old. So a lot of people saying it needs to go to the government. Not sure to read that handle, but he says our social service is crumbling. There are many elderly people and even children living on the streets. And then we have at Sarah_Zam saying I even don't want to grow old because the treatment given to them is bad, and I don't think it's going to change.
Oh my God.
Right. And then we have at Agi Gishoya saying it is the family's duty, but nowadays people are, in quotes, too busy. So that's a look at what some of you are saying. Interestingly enough, a lot of people also tweeting me saying, I don't want to grow old, Janet, just based on what I'm seeing. At Muraya Nemo says, the elderly are not the government's responsibility, they have families. So really, people are torn there. And then someone else here at Mugure_K says, I have passion for the elderly. I nursed my blind great-grandmother who died at 105 years old. An exceptional experience. Interesting. So perhaps caring and being there for them sometimes, you know, gives them more years on earth. I think a lot of people would say. Let's talk a little bit more about maybe comparisons to other countries. Erastus, I know I was looking at a list that said the country where older people have the best time on earth is Sweden. It's in the top 3, and bottom 3 include Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Tanzania. What is it that constitutes a country that really takes care of older persons? I think it's also a question I can pose to Mr. Riga, but from what you've seen in your experience, what is it that constitutes that? You mentioned Singapore as well during the earlier on. Yeah.
But I would also like to mention our own constitution, that in the preamble it says out very clearly that Kenyans were aspiring for a government that respects the principles of human rights. And this includes equity, inclusiveness, and all these issues. And when a country like Sweden, I think there is the issue of having a strong economy, but also democracy. So the principles that we are saying of governance are there, so that resources are equitably and equally shared. And that will filter down to the older people who are also poor. I think in our country and in many African countries, we are in the process. Kenya, we are on track. We have a good constitution now. But the fact remains that how do we apply the fundamental principles of freedom and equality so that even the older people will feel that we are members of this society because our health, our food, our sanitation is taken care of.
Why should younger people watching this program right now care? A lot of them are watching thinking, I have 40, 50 years to go before I get there. I'm okay where I am right now. I'm working. My parents haven't reached the point where they're older, so they have nothing to relate it to. But why should younger people right now care about what's happening to our older generation?
They should, because I would say for the younger people, they have an opportunity to be proactive, to prepare well, because aging is a process. Actually, what is happening to our older people didn't start where they are now. It started far much. The type of education, the illness, how do you keep yourself fit? Do you exercise? How do you eat well? So for the younger people, they have a very great opportunity now to start preparing to grow old, keeping themselves healthy, saving for the future, good investment, so that you see why the government is introducing a cash transfer is people never had an opportunity to save. Because of poverty. There was nothing to save. They were not able to eat well. So they are finding themselves very weak, like whatever that we are saying in what Purity Wanjiku is doing. It's because many opportunities were missed in terms of nutrition, eating well, keeping well.
Do you agree, before I go to Mrs. Githinji, do you agree that that's essentially why younger people should care, or is there more?
Essentially, that is the reason why they should care, because the structures you put today will determine your future. But let me come back to your question of saying that people in Sweden and other countries, they age so happily. I want to say that this cash transfer program that we are introducing, in those developed countries, it is pegged on a certain percentage of their gross domestic product, so that they set aside 10%. This one is for the elderly people who should benefit. They have housing. Everything in terms of their social welfare is actually taken care of by the state.
Okay, yeah, and you're hoping, and that's something that you foresee us being able to move towards.
That's what
you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. Before that, though, Mrs. Githinji, I think a lot of what I'd want to ask you is reflections, and I'll keep interjecting and asking you that. But what do you think is the greatest lesson that you've ever learned in your life? In your 80 years, what is the one thing that you think is the greatest lesson you've ever learned? Do you want to take a moment to think about it so that we take a break and then come back? Yes. Okay, fine. We'll take a short break. Keep interacting with us on 22422. Use the hashtag Monday Special KE on Twitter, or handle at Monday Special KE. A lot of feedback coming in. We want to learn from you. Are you taking care of an older person? What are your experiences like? We'll actually hear from someone in just a few moments. Who do you now think should be taking care of older persons? Should it be the family? Should it be the state? Let us know. We'll be back after this break.